Alrighty, there we go. 2026, new year, new stream, same old music, man. Love it every time we come on here. Um, let's just jump right on into it, fellas. We got a lot to cover tonight. Let's first get our introductions out of the way, our quick promotions of all of our sponsors and friends, and then we'll get into the meat of the episode tonight. So, joining me tonight are just members of Central Committee of the OGC. I am, of course, President RedHawk. Next to me is Mr. Not Me, Not You. How are you, sir?
Doing great. Happy New Year to you and to all our brothers in the Old Glory Club. I think 2026 is going to be the year when the tins of the Alps will finally have the assembled in India phrase removed from them.
Will be a wonderful day when that finally comes true. Mr. P. Quinones is back. How was your New Year, Pete?
New Year was great. All right, let's get going here.
Indeed. And we got Mr. Fahrenheidt, who for some reason has a smaller PFP profile picture than normal, but you are large in all of our hearts, Mr. Fahrenheidt. How are you, sir?
It's a coordinated conspiracy with an attempt to reduce my message, but I'm doing very well. Thank you for having me.
Yes, exactly. They fear you because you speak the truth. Yes. And we have Mr. Charlemagne with us. Been a while since you've been on PER, Charlie. Good to have you back.
Thank you. Yes, well, keeping quite busy with American Spirits, of course, takes a lot of time. So don't have a whole lot of time for 2 streams a week. But yeah, happy to be here for the state of the club. And of course, I'm the current secretary of the club as well, if people were not aware.
Yes, of course. Many important officers and members of Central Committee here tonight to ring in this new year. But first, we must get through all of our sponsorships as always. So at the start of it, White Boy Winter is in full swing right now. And if you guys want to get jacked for 2026 White Boy Summer, which will be around the corner before you know it, head on over to Axios Remote Fitness and Coaching, and JD will get you guys shredded for the White Boy Summer. Also, while you're at it, get your caffeine fix from Fox and Sons Coffee, which apparently they are just blowing up right now. I'm seeing Fox and Sons ads on all of our guys' shows. So head on over there. And if those of you who are coffee drinkers, support fellow friends. While you're at it, get your nicotine fix with Alp nicotine pouches. As Mr. Not Me, Not You mentioned earlier, they're now being manufactured and assembled fully in the United States of America. So we here at OGC, fans of big tobacco as we are, get yourself your fix with Alp nicotine pouches. In addition to that, when you guys are on your caffeine and nicotine highs, you guys should be reading Tall Man Books. Our good friend, Mr. George Bagby, has done excellent work over the last year and a half or so of resurrecting old books from the early 20th century and the late 19th century. They're back in circulation now. Some very good history material is there. So head on over to Tall Man Books and help out fellow friends. In addition to that, next Thursday, PER, we will be having a fundraiser for Mr. Bagby, who once again will need some financial assistance from everyone in the club. He's a good friend of the show, and the fact that he's in the position that he is in is quite the indictment on our society in this day and age. So we must support fellow friends definitely in 2026 and beyond. So yes, head on over to Tall Man Books, and next week, next week we will be supporting Mr. Bagby. So everyone get your checkbooks ready for that one. Alrighty, gents. So 2026 state of the club. I think the first place for us to start is how 2025 went for the OGC as a club. I mean, the first place to start is that we almost doubled the amount of chapters that we had from the start of the year. We're almost in every single state now. I would like to see by the end of the year we have representation in all 50. Hawaii is going to be tricky, but any of you people in the audience who are from Hawaii, please reach out to us and maybe we can get a chapter started right there. But I think for the rest of the states, I think it's very doable for us to have full chapter representation in all of the states. So who else would like to pitch in for something that was huge as it relates to 2025 for the club?
Well, I mean, besides just the new number of states that we added, we also had multiple chapters in states that already existed, breaking apart, or I guess building up in a regional capacity just due to the sheer number of people and the distances involved. So the existing chapters haven't slowed down at all. In fact, some of them are getting too big to encompass just one region. And how they, deal with that. Some of them splinter off into other chapters, and some of them, just do little regional systems within their own chapter. Which it's up to the chapter, because no matter how they decide to break apart the leadership of those regions, they are all brothers of the Old Glory Club.
Yes, of course. I think certain states. I know for a fact there's 2 states that have 3. I don't think anyone has reached up to 4 quite yet, but that might be a possibility near in the future. And I know a couple of states are well on their way to crossing into 2 as well. So yeah, the localities are shrinking ever closer to being just right in your backyard. So if you guys have not signed up and joined a chapter yet, now is the time for sure.
Yeah, and of course you can check all of that out on the website. Just in terms of the state of things, in addition to being the secretary, I also operate the website, theoldgloryclub.com. I don't remember if we had the map page at the beginning of 2025, but of course we do have a map there now. I've recently updated the map so that you can clearly see which states we do not and do not have chapters in. Clicking states will show you the chapters in that state if you're interested in joining or just seeing who else is around. And yeah, I mean, we're getting pretty close to having chapters in every state now. Tennessee is one of those, of course, with three chapters in the state. I'm looking at it now. I also added a shows tab to the website, which lists the 4 shows we have, which are Pony Express Radio, American Spirits, Chapter House, and then also a sort of side 4th one, OGC at the Movies, where we do film reviews. I've actually also got the Nathaniel Green Society's shows up there, the Green Tavern and the Green Room. And I also promised Cascade Frontier I'd add theirs as well, which I still need to do. It's a little bit more work getting Substack stuff on there, which is where theirs is hosted. So yeah, so that'll be coming up. What else? Yeah, the chapters themselves. I've also updated each individual chapter's page, so that if you link your chapter page on social media, on Telegram or wherever, it should render your chapter name and the logo that is stored on the page as well. So that can help if you're if you're looking to share your chapter on like Facebook or wherever. That should be working now for people. So yeah, website coming along well. I'm probably also going to be updating the homepage soon with perhaps some of our top historical articles. So people can look forward to that. Just for club members listening, the website, I view it as a resource for you guys. So suggestions are always welcome for any improvements or new features.
Yeah, and mentioning all the media work that our chapters are doing, it's all very interesting. It's all independent. I love the Green Tavern myself, especially the intro music and the samples of Thomas 777 talking about what a great time he's having. That's exactly the attitude we should all have.
I wanted to speak a little bit on my end from the office of the vice president. The thing I wanted to primarily focus on that I believe was done very well over this last year was the regional events. Several very top tier regional events have been held. I know the new Ivy League held a dinner that went very well. The Nathaniel Green Society in North Carolina has hosted several events, which took some significant coordination that I attended, and I was very impressed by. But the crowning jewel of all of the regional events that have occurred this year was the East Coast Forum that was hosted by the jointly by the Bluestone Heritage League and the Vetus Dominium Club, which was, if you've ever been to one of the yearly events that the Central Committee puts on in Tennessee, it was sort of a miniature version of that. It was very well run. There were lots of very high quality people in attendance. There were some good speeches that were held, and I'm very grateful to have attended. So that's one of the things I'm very impressed by. I know that in 2026, this year, we're looking at repeating many of these events as yearly traditions, as the central event has become, and many other chapters in many other regions are looking to have their own regional events, which we are all looking forward to.
Yeah, and speaking of events in 2025, we can't forget the central event, which technically it's the second event we've hosted, but the fourth event where somebody from the Central Committee has had a hand in organizing it, and it just keeps getting better every year. The venue was a step above the ones before, including the food, and it's just it it's great to see that we can keep not just keep the quality, but increase it and increase the aesthetics of the event as well. With our friend from the James Oglethorpe Society, who is so involved in printing. Um, Let the listener understand and go look into that if they're interested. But it's a big effort to get all those things running properly, and it's great to see that we're just getting easier every year.
Yeah, on that note, we're currently working on a system to sort of allocate tickets to each individual chapter for this year's event in the middle of the year again. So you can your officers should be getting to you at some point probably in the next couple of weeks or months about that. But obviously, we're trying to make sure that tickets are allocated in a way that makes sense, given that we have so many chapters now. I think it's like 35 or 37. Obviously, there have to be caps on tickets allocated per chapter, just to be fair. And for this reason, too, we're very, very happy that a lot of the chapters are doing their own sort of conferences that will hopefully scale up to the same size as the national conference at some point, just so that people don't feel like they're being like they're missing out. Because unfortunately, as the organization gets much, much larger, we are going to have to put more limits on the national conference, which will probably turn more into a leadership summit type thing.
I think one of the things that really came out of this year is, I went to a couple events that were even outside of the club or club adjacent, and once you start going to events and once you start meeting up, go to chapter meetups and regional meetups, whatever, you start to understand the importance of social capital. How when you've sat and talked to somebody face to face and you've shared a laugh, shared a drink, whatever, shared time, that you understand how important that is, that we're not going to get through this without building social capital and without being able to look each other in the eyes and see and see the sincerity and see how much the other person cares.
Yeah,
Yeah,
definitely to echo what Pete has been saying right there. One of the anecdotes that I've had over this last year, in addition to like the different like regional conferences and events that people have been having, just at the chapter level, what some of our guys have been doing, whether it relates to, adopting highways or graveyard cleanups or, cleaning up monuments, going on hikes, stuff like that. I mean, me personally, I took the Florida guys on a wild boar hunt this year, which was tons and tons of fun. So forming those bonds of brotherhood within your chapter by doing whatever event that you guys think is most relevant for your guys' locale is really, really important and definitely something that we need to be stressing. going into the rest of this year.
Yeah, Pete, mentioning that when you get together for these regional or the national conferences that you can look the other person in the eye and realize that we're all here for the same reason. It's good to get reminders. It's good to show up to these things, to get reminders of why the Old Glory Club was started in the first place. Because a couple of years ago, there was some of us identified that the biggest problem with the online right is that all of the factional infighting was mostly fake and gay and caused by individual egos. And so we figured, how do we deal with that? Well, we get people to meet and know each other, and that's a step in the right direction. So it yearly reminders of that thing, that purpose are always worth your time.
Yeah, I mean, I've never once seen a chimp out at any of our events amongst the guys there. There's always like discussions, there's always arguments, but it's always done in good faith. And, nobody has ever come to the point of, oh, we're going to throw fists or something, or we're going to exchange insults or something. That's just never once happened at any of the conferences, events, local meetups, parties, anything that I've attended. None of this has ever occurred.
Though there have been jujitsu bouts.
That is true. That is true. That is of a different kind, I would say. But it really just goes to show you that once people actually get offline, which many of us, especially those of us that are content creators that ended up starting the OGC all those years ago, I mean, this is the conclusion that we all came to, is that, people need to be spending less time online. Must be more in person. So why don't we... carry on, Evan.
Yeah. I just wanted to mention that chapters have been doing all sorts of civic engagement. I've heard about graveyard cleanups. I've heard about cleaning up monuments in their local communities. I've heard about things like Adopt a Highway initiatives being undertaken by chapters. All of these are excellent, wonderful things that we want this organization to be focusing on. These are the sorts of things that make a tangible difference. Unlike a Twitter post, these are not things that give you instant gratification and instant eyeballs and instant, feeling that you said something that got attention and got judgment and you move off of that. Well, no, this is the actual hard work, the tilling of the soil, the little things that are done by groups of men that cause communities to prosper, to raise them, to raise up, to strive to a higher standard. And these things are often neglected, especially by political people in the political sphere, because they think, oh, what does adopting a road have to do with achieving my political ends? And I would like to fully emphasize the club is not a political organization, though we understand that the super majority of our membership are extremely politically oriented. And what this does is that it creates this shared sense of belonging, and it creates this legitimacy of the club as an American institution that is reflected physically in the material world, in the America around them. When you pass by the road adopted by, and you see your chapter name below it, or you see the grave site that's now clean that you cleaned up, or the park, like let's say like an overhang at a park that your chapter got together and built, or something like that with a plaque on it, right? This is how you make your mark, something that is obviously not totally permanent, but more permanent than the ever churning and turmoiling discourse of the timeline. And that's the kind of stuff that I'm absolutely encouraged to see and want to encourage more of in the year of our Lord 2026.
Yeah, absolutely. Why don't we move on a little bit here, guys? Because as we've covered in detail about some of the things we've seen last year, all the things that we are very, very excited about, why don't we focus our attention to what 2026 is going to bring, and some of the challenges they're going to be facing the club and the broader right-wing sphere in general this year. I guess we might as well just do this. I mean, giving a little bit of a spoiler of what the theme for this year's national conference is going to be. The theme for this year is going to be together or separate. A little nod to our old founding father, Mr. Benjamin Franklin here. But really what the biggest issue that, many of us have been discussing, if people have been listening to us hash out these ideas on places like Mr. D's Twitter Spaces or something like that, you will know that one of the major fault lines that we see in the right-wing coalition, and as well, in this club as well, because the gentlemen who make up the organization are of the right, of course, is the need for maintaining the coalition as we approach the midterms and into 2028 and beyond. There are a lot of fault lines that are forming on a multitude of issues. We can look back to things like Charlie Kirk's assassination, Nick Fuentes being platformed on the mainstream, even the more recent goings on in the news, like the Minneapolis ICE shooting or the Venezuela operation. These are things that are being exploited by people on all sides to put us against them, this right-wing faction against this other right-wing faction or something like this. And one of the things I really want to stress as the Old Glory Club itself is that all of the goings on of everyday politics and something like that is just not remotely on our timeline. I mean, when we first started this organization, we wanted to pass this on to our sons. We want to pass this on to our grandsons. Like, this is not just something that's going to be around for the remainder of this administration. This is going to be something that I'm going to be working on literally for the rest of my life. And I know everybody who's on Central Committee and many of the people who are presidents and officers in various chapters think the same way. So it's just really, really important to not get caught up in the everyday goings on, to start fights with people.
Oh yeah, I mean, absolutely. This is my baby, and like it or not, I see everyone in the club as my son. So it's even if they're older than me. Sorry, Pete. It's just the way it's got to be.
Well, I mean, you're gonna have to help me with some bills now. Thank you.
I don't know. Charlemagne, what are your thoughts on this? Because we've talked quite a bit on Mr. D Spaces about the need for keeping this coalition together. What do you have to say?
Yeah, well, of course, you are talking about this sort of broad coalition of people against what gets termed the woke left, and this huge grouping of people that more or less fall under this banner of MAGA. This is certainly important to keep together. We are definitely a lot more interested in our club, though. Building brotherhood within the club is going to be one of our major point of 2026 that we want to focus on. One of the things that has happened in this coalition you're referring to after the Charlie Kirk assassination, of course, things sort of started fracturing, and it became termed the MAGA Civil War. And then when Tucker Carlson interviewed Nick Fuentes, that really sort of really started that phenomenon, although it was building up before. All these tensions have been building up among the broader American right-wing factions, this coalition. I'm a little hesitant around the term coalition because there is no real formal coalition yet. It's more like a sort of prototypical one. But anyway, those fault lines exist, and they're getting exacerbated by recent events now. But all of that stuff happens in this sort of atmosphere around us. For us, it is really the club itself, the fraternal bonds between us, of all members of the club, that is really what is most important to focus on. All of the differences of opinion that are happening in this space where this MAGA Civil War is occurring. This is not like what the club is about, right? The club is about the fraternity we all share together, because if you're in this organization, it is because we initially have identified the people who form the chapter you're in as heritage Americans and people who are genuinely interested in and capable of sustaining our American heritage and building it up actually for the future. And if you're in one of the chapters, then those men have identified you as the exact type of person, and that's what really matters here. Is that we are about American heritage, not what people's opinions are on the current administration, because ultimately that administration is going to fade into the past, and we're still going to be here, and all we're going to have is each other to depend on to get through whatever is coming next.
I think it's necessary to acknowledge that one of the biggest fault lines that exists within the wider right wing space that then trickles down into the men of the club is the orientation towards the Trump administration itself. There are those who very much support the Trump administration to a lesser or greater extent, and there are those who are skeptical of the Trump administration to a lesser or greater extent. And there are various subgroups and sub issues which form out from that. And I think it needs to be emphasized to everyone that both camps are legitimate. Both camps have good substantive reasons as to why they are oriented the way that they are. And they are unified by a common worldview, primarily based on American norms derived from European norms and Christian norms, right? And we all want a whiter, more Christian America. Frankly, that's what we all want. That's the goal we are all striving towards. We believe that this used to exist at one point, and it was better than today when this existed, and that this ought to be recaptured. So it's very important to keep that in front of the eyes of everyone as we go about this stuff. And I believe that this is a negative aspect, and it's a novel one in human history, particularly due to social media changing how people think and how people communicate and how people interact into a very, very short attention span, feedback loop driven mean of interaction, right? Where memes and vibes, rather than actual substantive, coherent arguments, become the reigning parts of the day. And it's very important for those of us in the club who have an organization that kind of transcends this. I don't want to say it transcends our principles and our beliefs, but though it is an apolitical organization, but when you're in an organization that transcends this, right, there is a greater forum and a greater common standard that can bring out the best, the most substantive aspects of both of these sides into a new coherent whole. And that's what I believe must be emphasized, because what we saw with the Charlie Kirk assassination, with Fuentes being platformed, with 1,000 little things between here and there, finally coming to a head with what occurred in Venezuela. And by the grace of God, we had what just happened with these ICE agents sort of reunifying all of us around, wait a minute, there's this massive group of militant people who are fueled by this ideology and this worldview that will not stop until all of us are dead, or imprisoned or something. And it's only going to get worse. It's only going to get worse. This year, the midterms, and I'm not going to make any predictions, but this is going to be a very political year due to the midterms, due to continued actions of the Trump administration, or inactions, depending on where you are, due to the actions of various other political actors. And I want to emphasize to every brother of the club and to every individual who finds themselves on the right generally, that the things that are more important to focus on this year than the media thunderdome, than the feedback loop, are the tangible brothers that exist around you, the connections and the friendships that you make, and the preparations that you make with those friendships and connections for what is to come. Because I am personally favorable toward the administration. However, I don't believe the civilizational crisis that we are currently undergoing can be substantively fixed by this administration, even if it were to do everything right and to make every good decision. And I think anyone who's honest about that will acknowledge that. So, in conclusion, if we are to resolve all of this, we must focus on what unifies us in the world that we desire to create. I know that was a very long soliloquy, but I wanted to say all of that.
If I can pick up on what you were saying about civilizational crisis there, I think that when I ask everybody in Central what their most important issue is, it's immigration and it's deportations, it's remigration. And I think one of the things that I've seen this week, and I'm not going to say I saw it from anybody in the club, but I've seen it from the greater right on social media, is there are people who are so enamored and so happy about this Venezuela, win, that they'll actually use those of us who are like, okay, great, whatever, do whatever, go bomb all the fucking people you want, but deport 100 million people. And I've actually seen people using that as like trying to tease people who aren't taking, who are like, who haven't completely bought in, like this is going to cause some great change. No, the great change will be caused when 75 million people are deported, when 40 million people are deported, when the deportations, when the denaturalizations, when the war on these nations within ours are excised. That's when you will start to see healing. That's when you will start to see a nation be reborn. Foreign adventures that may bring people together. It may make people go rah, rah. We haven't had a win in a long time, so let us have this win. Great. Wonderful. Have it. But understand, if you want prices to go down, if you want to have, one of the things that could absolutely destroy the midterms is the fact that prices keep going up and up. I go to the grocery store all the time. Personally, I go to the grocery store. Prices keep going up on things that I buy. That is going to screw you in the midterms. If you want those prices to go down, you can only do so much with monetary policy. What you need to do is you need to start taking millions of people and removing them from the country.
Yeah, and all this to say, oh, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, so we all know, everyone knows that it's immigration. It's too many people here. It's people who don't belong here. It is people who are absolutely like a bioweapon, a biomass amongst us that needs to be removed. And to mock people who are reminding you that that is the main issue. I mean, come on, guys. Come on, take your win, run a lap, do what you got to do, have a sip of booze to celebrate. Get people out of here. Get people, fucking build rail lines if you need to, build more planes, load them up on ships, but get them the hell out of here. That's the only way you can start thinking about having a civilization in the future.
Well, all this to say that regardless of the success or failure, real or perceived, of the current administration, of the next administration, the administration that follows that, there's absolutely nothing to affect the necessity nor the reasons that gave rise to the Old Glory Club. We are an organization that is made up mostly of whims. And for those unfamiliar, there was a study in 2007 that came out that identified the white hierarchical independent male as being only 10% of the United States population, which I'm sure it's much lower now, but also is basically the only population that gets anything done. And that's while the Old Glory Club doesn't set out to specifically become that. That's who we attract. We're all the same types. And so we're all going to have our own opinions on the minutia of political decisions made far away from us, by people who don't even know we exist or who don't listen to the things that we have to say anyway. We don't need the federal government. We just need each other.
Yeah, absolutely. With that sentiment right there, I mean, this is like the thing that we talk about all the time with the nonsense of like, oh, we need like more H-1Bs to come into the country and solve all our problems. It's like, no, it's like,
Did we lose him?
We sure did.
Well, I regret to inform all of you, but it appears that a attack is being launched against the president of the OGC right now by various subversive and foreign elements. I suppose as vice president, I should take over the stream until he comes back. But yes, I agree with all of the sentiments, and I think what Mr. President was trying to say is that these sentiments, I want to speak for him, but these sentiments are all what brought the club into being in the first place. First and foremost, the club is a place and an arena for brotherhood and for friendship to thrive in a protected environment, as every fraternal society since the creation of fraternal societies was meant to be. And going into 2026, as this feedback loop will ramp up, as things will get more politicized, and people will look to find the worst interpretations of what perceived people in another perceived camp have to say on both sides. I don't want to lay blame on anyone solely, right? But that can only be overcome by an ideal which is greater than any other ideal that one puts forward, which is that of a true and genuinely lived friendship between men who have lived and suffered and in many cases died together. That is the basis of all community. It is the basis of all civilization. Short only of a common faith, right? That is the basis of all of it. And that is what needs to be emphasized. And that's what needs to be focused on, because if the club and the broader right is to survive the coming political storm, which I think all of us kind of sense coming, then this is what needs to be hyper focused on.
I declare holy war on Spectrum Internet and everyone who installs the lines all over the country. You must all be destroyed. Anyway, thank you, Mr. Fahrenheidt, for that. Anyone else want to chime in?
I did want to quote our good friend Orrin McIntyre, just talking about the online space. Never forget that Twitter is for dunking on journalists, politicians, and accredited college professors. And that's, there's no better way to say that. It's really not for anything else.
Yeah, absolutely. And it is, again, just emphasizing the importance of how this organization transcends these two sides or camps. From our point of view on the Central Committee, these camps and sides on various issues on the Trump administration more generally don't exist within the club. People may have their opinions on them, and that's fine, but that is all entirely orthogonal to us. Both, regardless of what your opinion is on the Trump administration, like I said, if you're in this club, that means you are a heritage American who other people in the club believe to be worth brotherhood and friendship with. And we're not about having the right opinions on the Trump administration, and we're not about trying to even convince other people within the club of those opinions. We all have our opinions. Paul Fahrenheidt is a lot more optimistic or at least positively disposed towards the Trump administration, and someone like Pete isn't, and they could disagree, and people within the club will disagree. The Venezuela incident was mentioned earlier, right? And there are differing perspectives on this within the club, and this incident should serve as a warning beacon for what is to come around the midterms, that there are going to be even more significant events that occur for the entirety of this year that are intentionally devised. Well, not as if they're like entirely planned for this purpose, but the way they are perpetuated on social media, the whole Twitter ecosystem is designed to facilitate people fighting like this, and that may happen from time to time, but ultimately this is entirely right beneath us, in the sense that we are not here to be divided over opinions on these political events. We transcend all that as an organization, and all of the various takes people have. I mean, from what I've seen, everyone in the club, has presented legitimate takes on that, and pretty much everything I've seen. We're about what brings us together, and not our differences, and that has to be kept in mind as this year progresses. Because as I predicted on Belinda Ewell, I don't make predictions much. I don't really like them, but I think this year is going to be pretty crazy, and I think these political divisions are going to go off like a grenade broadly in this MAGA coalition. And what we don't want to see happen is for that to cause divides between brothers.
Yeah, I mean, we're already seeing it right now, and we're only just a few days into the new year, and it's only going to get worse as we're getting closer and closer.
Yeah, and I wanted to make the point that I would love to see a red wave and Republicans take more of the House and take more of the Senate this coming year. History and circumstances don't point that way right now. That's not because of quote unquote black pillars or people quote unquote trooning out because they don't believe Trump is doing enough. Nobody on Twitter who's doing that is the cause of people not voting for Republicans this coming year. So if it turns out that there is a blue wave and Trump hasn't put all these people in jail, put all of his enemies in jail, and or sent them to Gitmo so that they won't seek to try to impeach him for the between 2026 and 2028, or once 2028 is over and if a Democrat gets elected, seek to try him not as a head of state but as the leader of an organized criminal gang. That's not on the people who aren't 100% rah go administration. No, that has nothing to do with us. So don't blame people who are critical, who congratulate and give props to Trump when he does something right. And I can go down a list if I want, but also say you're not doing enough. And we're running up against an existential crisis here. And if you don't solve that existential crisis by the time you get out of office, shit's going to be bad for all of us, including you. It's not our fault.
To echo this as well from what Pete is saying, I mean, we already see this level of arguments coming from our enemies, in the sense of from like the conservative Inc. Establishment of what's going to happen in 2026 here, where they say, well, you can see that they're already priming up these arguments to purge, what they call like the woke right or the radicals or what have you, is that because we performed poorly in the midterms, because like Winston Sears didn't get elected, it's because people are pushing way further to the right on these issues, and that's what the problems are. It's the same argument when people are saying over here is like, oh, well, you guys aren't being as vocal and supportive of the administration, therefore you guys are the ones that are the result of why, XYZ person didn't come out to vote or something like that. Like this is all just ridiculous. We are talking about a span of millions upon millions of people voting in an election, and the platforms that we do have, while we do punch above our weight to a great degree, we punch above our weight because of the certain kinds of people that are listening, not because there are millions upon millions of the American electorate that are listening to us and taking orders on who and what to vote for.
And I want to cap off the existential crisis. And I know we have other stuff we have to talk about, but I want to cap this off by basically laying out the stakes to all of us, because I think everyone here is raising great points, and I think Pete's absolutely correct as to the historical moment we're presently living in. Today, I saw Minnesota Governor Tim Walz invoke Minnesota holding the line at the Battle of Gettysburg during the Civil War, which during Pickett's charge, which is something that can be fact checked into oblivion. But what this means is that, and Waltz is about to basically go to jail, God willing. But what the last time that, and I'm going to say the words, and everyone's going to get mad, but the last time a civil war happened in the United States was when you had two major blocks of state governments, two ideologically aligned blocks of state governments that saw the other block of state governments as fundamentally illegitimate, right? And once this really the concrete sets on both of these, the next federal election is basically just the weight of one side's numbers versus another side's, which is just an illegitimate election and what causes a disaster. I see this forming in the United States at present. Okay, if you look at the states that are under firm blue control, Illinois, Minnesota, the entire West Coast, pretty much the whole of New England. The Midwest is somewhat split. The South, incursions into the South via Georgia and North Carolina have been more or less stemmed. And I don't believe these states are on the trajectory that they once were, though there still is much work to be done. However, that's still a pretty significant population divide. These states and these political offices have command over centralized military apparatuses and state national guards, state police forces, state air national guards, etc., alongside any federal forces that might be present there. So what I see is entirely possible, just because, as Pete mentioned, history does indicate things like this can happen. What I see as entirely possible is that one side, which is against all of us, it's the side that controls Minnesota and lets Somalis in to do their looting. It's the side that floods Illinois with ag workers from Central American countries. It's the side that has turned one of the most beautiful and greatest states, California, into one of the worst. And as you saw today with the ICE agent, several ICE agents, and one in Minneapolis and one in Portland, defending their lives against this rabid mob. What I see here is an intractable difference. And the best way to ensure that the lot of us, the club and the wider sphere that it represents, gets divided up and defeated piecemeal in much the same way that the White Russians were, or in much the same way that the Spanish left was during the Spanish Civil War, is to continue on the path that seems to be happening without checking ourselves. And I personally believe that the existence of the OGC as an organization will save the American right, and God willing, will save the United States from this looming catastrophe. This can only be a multi-generational project if we make it through the coming catastrophe. And that's something I want every one of our brothers listening or who hears this on the replay to look at, to internalize, and to understand. I know that was, again, very long, but it's I think we all need to be thinking about.
Amen.
Yes, indeed. Thank you very much, Mr. Fahrenheight. All right, guys, why don't we announce some of the other things that we're looking forward to in 2026 for the rest of the year. So, I mean, as we were mentioning, the theme for this year's conference is going to be together or separate, and that also leads out into the main goal that we've also been talking about on the rest of the show tonight is bonds of brotherhood and the power that we as a fraternal society have to bring men together. Everybody knows who have studied their history will know that the only political change and the only change in general that ever occurs in society is done by small groups of men, of course. And that is the one of the things that really galvanized us into starting this organization from the very beginning is that all of our traditional male spaces have been entirely taken away from us. And you would not believe the kinds of stuff that you can get done just by talking to fellow men that agree with you or come from the same background or are looking to accomplish the same goals, anything like this. Men always bond by doing things together. We're not like women where we're just going to call up a friend on a phone or something and catch up all the time. We bond in action in doing things. So look for more events like that to be coming up throughout the year for people to be bonding through brotherhood. I mean, a couple of us were at a number of parties this year with fellow guys, not just regional or local events or the national conference, but people were out doing various activities, and just making friends. We're definitely be doing a lot more of that into the new year here. One other thing I will announce is that later this year, the OGC is going to be announcing our scholarship fund. Look for more details to be coming on that when the time is right. But that's going to be something very, very exciting. We've been working on in the background for some time. So watch this space for more information coming out on that one.
It should be noted that the scholarship fund is for those going to law school. So if you want to get your degree in feminist dance theory, it's not going to be used for that.
Yeah, need not apply. Indeed. But yeah, we do need a army of lawyers, and we here at the OGC are going to try and do our part to get that done. Another thing that we're going to be looking for into this new year, in addition to bringing up all the issues that we've been talking about the broader right-wing sphere and maintaining some civility between all people involved and keeping our eye on the prize and our eyes on the enemy that we all face. This show, Pony Express Radio, is going to get restructured a little bit. This is actually kind of a long time coming. I mean, Pete and myself are talking about this off air a little bit, current event stuff kind of is just boring and it makes us mad all the time. So we're kind of sick and tired of just dealing with the current event stuff of the day. And we wanted to kind of get back, if people will remember what the show was like back in the day when we actually first launched, was more of a topic show. Some of it was history. Some of it was, whatever topics we wanted to decide at the time as it related to America in general. So this show is going to be moving away from the, everyday political goings on stuff of the day. Maybe like every now and then we might do an emergency show when something really, really huge pops off. But generally speaking, we're going to be having way more variety in the people who come on the show, rotating out people from Central, rotating the kinds of topics we discuss, and having more hyper-focused kinds of discussions with various guests and something like that. So people could be looking forward to that for the rest of the year.
Yeah, Pony Express is always it's a fun time, as it was in 2025. Pony Express was a fun time, and you got some good knee slappers, and we're all going to have fond memories of the train whistle. Although I think that people have already forgotten what the red line was indicative of. I have not, but that might be exactly that might be an esoteric one for the ages. But to be like, just to kind of stick on the same theme that we've been going with, current events really is slop. And we're not in the game to be slop merchants, even though, we can get our jollies doing exactly that. So it's time that we did this for you, our brothers.
Yes, well, it's also important because, being that this is our most listened to show, I wish I could say that about American Spirits, but it is what it is, not to mention it's, hosted by the president. Uh, we don't want the show to give the impression that our brothers in the club should be primarily focused on this day-to-day political stuff. Nor do we want people to think that, let's be honest, Pete, along with RedHawk, are pretty skeptical of the Trump administration, and I don't like the term black pilled. I think it's kind of BS, but we also don't want to be giving the impression not only that you need to be looking at current events and having opinions on Trump and everything that's happening every week, but also that you should like share their opinions or something. That's not what we're about. That's not what the club is about. This show is not like our formal policy show or something, right? It's just a show we do. We're a lot of us come from podcasting backgrounds and talking about politics and stuff, so we just kind of do what we know how to do. And to be honest, we don't really like the sort of vibe either on Pony Express Radio lately. It has been pretty negative, and this year we need to do everything we can to keep morale up because things are going to get tough. So yeah, we're going to be going back actually more to the original type of formula that the show had, and probably rotate members of Central Committee through it more often, so you can kind of hear from different people and get different perspectives on whatever topics we decide to cover.
Well, I think you said that Pony Express does not dictate what the club believes. I mean, the club's not a political club, but American Spirits is the history. It is what the club would be. What the club would be most about. So, I think we've had this conversation over and over again privately that if there was any one show people were listening to, if you had to choose one, it would be American Spirits we would want people to listen to. And I strongly encourage people to do that. You will get a lot out of it. The episode from this past Monday, even though it was cut short because of technical issues, is one of the most phenomenal things you'll ever hear. So please, go Monday nights, 8 o'clock Eastern, American Spirits. Please listen and go back through the back catalog and start with episode 1.
I definitely appreciate that. I also think it's a very important show, and I would say the same about Chapter House. And like you said, internally, what we believe and talk about, and now's a good time to mention it, is if you're a member of the Old Glory Club, the Chapter House and American Spirits are really what we think you ought to be listening to over this. I know this show tends to be more popular because it has been our sort of mainstay front runner show, but from our perspective, this is the least important thing we're doing. This is just the American Spirits, Chapter House, and even the Substack are more important than Pony Express Radio. The president happens to be the host of Pony Express Radio, but it shouldn't have outsized importance in people's perspectives, I suppose, just because of that circumstance that the president happens to be the host of the show. That's just sort of how things worked out because of how we have to divide our labor and whatnot.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, Pete and I have fun with it. It's good to have like jokes and everything like that. But yeah, like Charlie said, I mean, Pete and I were never under any illusion that we thought like the show was like the most important of the three. We were talking about that all the time. It's like, yeah, you guys should be listening to American Spirits and Chapter House.
It was audio shit posting.
Oh yeah,
it's literally just audio shit posting.
I mean, we had the soundboard, we had everything. I mean, this is never meant. It's like a comedy show more than anything else. We just happened to cover some of the news of the day. But I mean, like, yeah, again, like Charlie is right. I mean, it's like all of us here on Central. It's not like all of us are multimillionaires or something like that, and have like all this time on our hands we could all dedicate to this the programs that we produce and all the other work that we're doing. So it's like, oh well, who is most free on Thursday nights? And it just so happened like Pete and I were going to be the ones. So that's basically what ended up happening with it way back in the day when we established it. So but yeah, so PER getting restructured for this year. I'm excited for it. It'll be interesting to see, the kinds of topics and things we're going to be discussing on the show. Again, we're still going to be doing like the big streams of the year. Of course, we'll be around for the midterms stream later this year, and that'll be much more in the vein of what Pony Express used to be like, with a rotating cast of characters coming in and out, and there'll be a bunch of jokes and a party atmosphere and stuff. So we'll be doing stuff like that on like the big days of the year. But going back to our more narrow topics with specific guests is something I'm going to be excited for sure.
Yeah, and talking about the future year 2026, focusing on building up the brotherhood that we've created and the network that we are all now a part of. The Chapter House, if you are wanting for ideas on what to do with your chapter, listen to the Chapter House. There's new and interesting things on there most every week. Your brothers have great ideas, and while it might be unreasonable to expect that everyone in the organization personally knows and talks to everyone else in the organization, you can at least steal their good ideas when they come on the show. So, if you're looking for ideas, start a fight club, make some like weird blood ritual. We don't care as long as you don't get us in trouble. So come get some ideas.
I cannot in good conscience endorse the establishing of strange blood rituals by any chapter, whatever.
I don't know that wild boar hunt that we did down in Florida with knives was pretty fun, man.
Yeah, see, not even on Central do we have perfect alignment.
No, but just to cap that off, I mean, anything that's really important and essential to the club, you're not going to hear it on a podcast, although we do think the other two are important, and you're certainly not going to hear it on Pony Express Radio. For any of the brothers of the chapters, anything that's really essential to what we're doing, it's going to be communicated internally to you. These shows exist because they're fun, they can be informative, and they each have their own function. But these things are not meant as like the absolute line everyone needs to be following or anything like that. And the same for Twitter. We all have our different takes on Twitter and stuff, and sometimes things get spicy. I like to, frankly, I use Twitter way too much, and I like to be mean on there, probably more than I ought to be. But no one should be looking at Twitter as something that any of us view as anything more than just like a shit posting outlet. Like, that's what it's for. As Aaron said, it's there to troll like professors and bully journalists and stuff. Twitter is not the place that should be taken seriously in any way, in terms of like the formal perspective of the club, like on anything.
Oh yeah, I mean, all of our internal documents that we give to people in the chapters is like actual serious business from the club, not what people quote tweet Chuck Todd or whatever with a picture of like Pepe or something.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure I've probably said something that's like pissed someone off before, so sorry if I pissed you off. It happens. It's not meant to really be a dig at anyone. This is a problem on Twitter, right? People often think they're being subtweeted or something like that, but definitely that's just not going to happen. Nothing on Twitter ever going to be targeted at anyone in the club. Like, that's just gay. That's not going to happen.
Yeah, here.
I'm only there to demoralize our enemies.
Yep. Can definitely agree with that for sure.
We'll talk about what happened today. Don't worry, guys.
Yeah. Which is actually, I was going to read a couple of super chats, and then we're going to get into a little bit of what happened today. So why don't we start right here at the top? And here we go with the first super chat of the new year on Pony Express. We got our friend Solid Snake, as ever, is the first one to sneak behind enemy lines in his cardboard box. And he says, "Evening, gents. We had a good year for the OGC, I'd say. I'd say too, sir. Chapters now from sea to shining sea. Congratulations, everyone, and especially you all in Central." Well, thank you, sir. "Here's to another good year for the OGC, come fair or stormy waters." Sorry, had to make the pun. We all love stormy. Salute, everyone. Yes, we all do indeed love stormy waters. And thank you very much, Solid Snake. We appreciate it.
And if you live in the Wichita, Kansas area, or in that general region, you can get involved with the chapter that Solid Snake is involved in, the Home Range Society. So please do so if you're in that area.
Yeah, yes, indeed. Everyone get involved. And, I mean, what Charlie was talking about earlier about all the effort he's done to put all the various chapters on the website and the state map together. But don't let that stop you from, starting your own chapter. Reach out to our club email account if you guys actually want to get in contact with guys in your local area who maybe want to start a chapter up and not just join one that's already existing. So don't be like demoralized or something if you look at the map and see, oh, well, there's not one near me. Well, you guys got to take some initiative and found one yourself. Send us an email. You'd be surprised how many people are sending us emails saying, hey, are there other local guys that might be able to start a chapter in my area? Not just, links to the closest one I could join. So even if you don't see one right in your neck of the woods, still reach out to us. You'd actually be surprised how many people are looking for other guys to meet up with. Alrighty. Moving on to Omens for $2. No chapter house this week. Have shekels anyway. Salute. Yes, chapter house will return next week.
Yeah, our producer found himself in a firefight outside the studio, so he was delayed.
Yeah, indeed. He arrives precisely when he means to, our producer. Omens again for $5. How can I get involved non-parasocially if for financial reasons I still have to, for now, live with my TDS, race trader, shitlib, race communist family? Damn. All right, that's quite a bit there. So, non-parasocially, I don't know. This isn't going to be the answer you're going to want to hear, but this is the answer you need to hear anyway. It's like you can't get away like one time, like every couple of weeks or something like that, to go to like a local meetup of some kind, find other like-minded guys, just go to the gym, like meet in openly like conspicuous places, like you can be friends at a gym,
When we do get when we get the legal scholarship fund set up, we will take your money though.
Yeah. You could just, you could join the OGC in your area. You could go, like RedHawk was saying, go to the gym. And if your shitlib parents get suspicious, just tell them that you joined Antifa. Oh yeah, sure, whatever.
Hashtag not advice. Anyway, TK sends us a super chat salute for $14.88. Thank you very much, sir. He again sends us a super chat for $10. I met some of the Western Mississippi, Eastern Kansas people recently. All great people. Look each other up. Yeah, for sure. You'd be surprised, guys. There are people popping up all over this great country of ours. You'd be surprised. Hammer Rain sends us $10. Every man I met at the conference understood the perfect hatred, and his heart was hardened to our enemies. Not one coward in our midst. Damn straight. Very true. Definitely haven't met any cowards at any of our OGC events. I'll say that much. Dawn Browning, our favorite woman and non-American in the chat. Everybody else pales in comparison to her. Sends us 5 anthropomorphic kangaroos high-fiving each other. Well, thank you very much, Dawn. We appreciate you. Kyle Linskog sends us $10. The currency of the future is relationships of trust. Boy, is that true. Very, very true. That should be like, eventually one of these days, way down the road, when we have OGC national headquarters, we can put that on the wall as people walk through the arch to enter the building, because that one is very, very important. American Southwest for $20. Thank you all for creating this. I am humbled and honored to be the New Mexico chapter president. Through OGC, I will create a better community, state, and nation for my son and those around me. Salute. Well, thank you very much, sir. We greatly appreciate that. Let's see. And we got Zenrath here for $5. I, for one, am looking forward to the problem. Sorry, I missed it. Problem of having too many presidents to fit in the same conference. Yeah, absolutely. Eventually, that is going to be a problem, and maybe sooner than you think. But yes, Zenrath, a good friend of ours, of course. Thank you, sir. Let's go to Romega 77 for 50 US bucks. Thank you very much, sir. That is the super chat of the night so far. Thank you. Let's go to he says rebirth of a nation. Deport, deport, deport. Hell yeah. I think we can all get behind that one. Let's see. Skibum 220, another frequent super chatter of the show. Thank you very much. He sends us $50. He says, salute the OGC. I hope everyone has a great year. We are going to win. Damn right we're going to win. And it's thanks to people like you in the audience. It's not just because of all of us. There are far more people in the chapters than there are on a central committee by a factor of almost 100 at this point. So thank you very much, gentlemen. All right. Moving on here to Volpes Persona for $10 for our scholars. Yes, thank you very much. We will more announcements on that will be coming in the coming months, but thank you, gentlemen. It's going to be put to good use. American Southwest once again for $5. I know a guy who is a big fan of and apparently pretty knowledgeable about history in the American Southwest. I'd be told he's got a nice voice. You do have a nice voice, sir. Very, very true indeed. And you are quite knowledgeable about the American Southwest. Perhaps we will indeed have you on to discuss a topic relating to the Southwest. Thank you very much, sir. Jackson Walker sends us $5 in a salute. Thank you very much, sir. We got Aramaic Discourse for $5. Another frequent super chatter on here. Thank you, sir. American Spirits is excellent. Can't recommend it enough. Chapter House is good too. Good lessons in some of those episodes. Well, absolutely. Yes. Both required listening if you guys are chapter members. All right. Let's move on to TD8 for $5. Venezuela really shows the weakness of our empire. The whole nation cheered for weeks after bin Laden's death. Now we've divided on a deathless victory. Well, I mean, the only thing I'll say about that one is, we're in a much more tumultuous and social media filled time than it was when Obama when Obama was taken out. No, when bin Laden was taken out all those years ago. So things are a little bit different for sure in many different ways. All right, we got Seasider for $10. Sends us a salute as always. One day he will get his Seasider saluting wing of the OGC headquarters. Thank you very much, sir. We got Rattling Saber. What a great name for Super Chatter. $3. May your halls be full of fellowship and your roads free of Indians. Damn right. Love that. And Bolero393, who's been around since the early AA days, for $10 says, happy Tippecanoe year from the Tippecanoe Society. 2026 is a year for building. Well, thank you very much, sir. We appreciate that. And shout out to all of our friends up at the Tippecanoe Society. We've got Rats for $20 says, I'm hoping to go to law school, looking forward to serving the OGC, our friends, and seeing as much of this country liberated as possible. We're all united under the 13+1. Well, thank you very much, sir. We appreciate your patronage. All right, man, these super chats just keep piling up. We were trying to get into the news of the day, guys. But thank you very much, gentlemen. We all appreciate it greatly. Chan the Man for $2 says, what's the word on the St. Louis chapter? They've got a St. Louis chapter up and running. So, I mean, look them up on the website. They're there.
Yes. And they will be, the St. Louis Voyageurs will be appearing on the chapter house this coming Wednesday, assuming our producer is not once again fighting for his life outside the studio.
Yes, of course. All All right, and we got our good friend, our number one hummus correspondent and friend of the show, Mr. Hunger the Dye Merchant, sends us $100 tonight. Thank you very much, my friend. Always a pleasure to speak with you and see you. And he says, "Gents, I'm beyond privileged to have you all as brothers, whether on this panel, in my state, or across this land. By the grace of God, I couldn't have asked for a better group of friends. That's my white pill. God bless you all and the Old Glory Club." Well, thank you very much, sir. Thank you, Hunger.
Amen.
You are indeed a good friend. Always appreciate it. And then we got Mando Spam for $2. Word on the Illinois guys. Still working on it, I guess. Well, they
Are these the guys dragging their feet on the documentation?
I don't know. Maybe, I don't know. Not picking on anybody. No, but no, I think they're in process, I would say, to put it nicely. So anyway, that is us caught up on the super chats. Why don't we get into a bit of the news of the day? So who wants to take the first stab at it?
I believe it was a gunshot, actually.
Yeah, I mean, I think accelerate.
I probably shouldn't be cheering, but I really wanted to cheer.
Well, I think cheering is a bit of a overstatement. I mean, I've been memeing. I think some of WBS, his memes on Twitter have been pretty funny. You know, sort of aping the Charlie Kirk memes. Some people don't like them, and that's fine. But the lady was a professional anti-ICE activist who was paid to obstruct them. I mean, Americans comprehend that when you obstruct a law enforcement officer and then try to flee the scene after they attempt to detain you, and either intentionally or even unintentionally put the life of an officer in danger. I mean, we all know how that goes. Americans comprehend that if you do that to a police officer or a law enforcement officer like ICE, your life is basically forfeit. That's just how it is. So, you know, people argue about whether or not it's justified or not. I mean, you look at the video, not that we need to analyze these things in slow motion or something, but what happened was the officer was perfectly within his rights to defend his life from that vehicle. And, you know, as far as the sort of mocking the left goes, I mean, personally, I'm all for it. These people need to be completely and utterly demoralized, and they need to be shown that we're not going to sit around and, you know, join them in lamentation over their guy going down. You know, it's not like the ICE officer went out. You know, I watched the video a lot. The guy did not draw his weapon until the vehicle started accelerated directly towards him. You know. Anyway,
well, you know,
yeah,
I mean, I see a lot of people who are like, you know, oh, you can't celebrate this. Oh, it wasn't a good thing. You know, this will just look. I'm not going to stand here and listen to people say when your enemies die, they win. I mean, literally, that's what people are like. Oh, if you're, I'm sorry. This is somebody who most likely celebrated the death of Charlie Kirk, would celebrate the death of any one of us. And I don't have to sit here and celebrate, but it's like, okay, well, that's one. You know, we found out about that there might be a couple more in Portland today. Oh, well.
If we take our own rhetoric seriously, I mean, if anyone is like a registered enemy, it's that woman. She was a registered enemy activist there to do exactly what she did, and she paid the price for it. You know, to be honest, from the rhetoric I see on the left, I don't think that they view ICE as law enforcement officers. I think they view them as like Republican bad guys or like bad Trump voters or something. It's like, no, these guys are
BORTAC is literally trained anti-terrorist group. I mean, these people are 100% officers. They just consider them to be illegitimate because, no human being is illegal. Sure, if you want to get existential about it, what they did was illegal coming here. Okay, so they got to go. And if you're a traitor who is going to dedicate your life and get paid, I mean, another report came out today showing that basically a vast NGO network was made years ago to be anti-ICE in Minnesota, and most of the money they've ever gotten has been from the federal government, which is great because the agent who shot her and the woman who got shot were both getting paid from the same place. Yeah, this only ends one way. If the administration takes it seriously, and it looks like they're doing that, this is going to happen a lot. I mean, this is going to happen over and over again until they get the message. And they don't get the message. And the fact that people are, oh, it's a woman. It's a woman. I don't want to see a woman get shot in the face. Neither do I. Maybe she should have been home making a sandwich.
I mean, kind of to echo what both of you guys have been saying on this one. The point I want to address is the fact of using, mimetic warfare to go after these guys. I mean, Charlie was mentioning people like WBS are making memes of this woman, much in the same vein of the left was doing with Charlie Kirk in the wake of that. And I would like to point people to the fact that these like mimetic memes could do a lot of work for us as it relates to not allowing these people to have martyrs for various causes. I mean, look at how, George Floyd at this point, like all the memes like attached to that guy have really neutered like his image over the last like several years, particularly in the wake of like the St. Floyd riots and everything like that. And we even have more recent examples of this. I was talking to some people off air, but one of the guys brought up Aaron Bushnell, if anyone even remembers who that guy is at this point, the guy who lit himself on fire in front of was like an Air Force base or something. I forget what it was. This was like sometime last year or whatever it was. It's like,
I think this was 24. Weren't there two of them?
Well, see, the fact that we like make fun of these people and have jokes about them and we don't even know any of the specifics of the case just further proves the point, right? It's like, well, if we can make fun of these people and make what they're doing like an absolute joke, and that there isn't like any glory to be had in the quote unquote martyrdom of facing down like an ICE agent who's doing his job to protect the country, right? I mean, it takes away a serious power that lefties have for, I mean, just like imagine back in the day if like there were memes we made about like MLK, like during like the riots and stuff like this, or you can even go more recent times, like something like Trayvon Martin or all these like various like, black police killings or shootings and stuff that were going on, right? Well, I think memes are one of the ways that the right in particular can punch way, way above its weight. And I know that some people may find it crass, and to be frank, it is crass. And in normal times we shouldn't be doing this kind of stuff, but also it's like, you better be engaging in like mimetic warfare, otherwise, what's the alternative? It's like just taking pot shots at each other. Like, you better do everything you can now to prevent that stuff from happening.
Yeah, that's basically my take, and I know not everyone agrees with it, and yeah, it is crass and distasteful and kind of nasty. But from my point of view, it's like, well, what's the alternative here? Like, we've all talked about where this is going. If you don't want violence, then we're basically obligated to do everything we possibly can to use our free speech to defeat these people. Because if we don't win with free speech, to the extent that's even possible, and then there's just going to be more violence, then no one really wants that. I mean, I've seen a lot of accusations like sadism and stuff. It's like, come on now. It's like people sharing these very disrespectful memes towards this woman who was killed. I mean, it's no one I know. I've seen tons of people sharing that, and I'm sure people I don't know, I highly doubt they're like sadists or being sadistic or something, or even really like celebrating her death or something. But it's like if we're taking our own views seriously, and we sort of see ourselves in this like civil war that just hasn't really gone hot yet. I mean, we'd better do everything we can to win it before it does. We don't want a civil war. No one wants that, but we're in one. So, from my point of view, and it's fine if people don't agree with it. It is like, in the spirit of what we talked about in the first half, it's totally fine if people see it differently, and even if they have opinions that are much at odds with what we've been saying here. Like I saw, Martyr Maid had, that's fine too. Look, like, we can't be attacking each other over our opinions on things like this, right? That's just not what we can be doing right now. We've got to stay focused on the enemy, even if we don't always agree on the approach everyone's taking or the takes. But for my part, fuck them. Like,
well, really, like a lot doesn't need to be made out of this. Like, this is literally just normal law enforcement operations. Like, this woman
Yeah.
tried to hit a law enforcement officer performing his duties with a car, and whether she was panicking or not, or whether she intended it or not, I mean, like, if you're an upstanding person who kind of knows how civilization works, you never get into this situation in the first place. So, like, look, any society gives its enforcers, its law enforcement officers, use of deadly force. It's the authority to do so, by state writ, by state grant. This is absolutely necessary in order for society to function. They need to have this authority. They need to have this power. And yes, there are unjust uses of it. A cop can't murder someone and say that they did it in their office. The way, just like a regular guy can't murder someone, right? But taking a life is not the same thing as murder. Murder is a very specific crime of, like, an intentional killing of someone for malicious reasons of some kind, and we even differentiate between murder and manslaughter in common law, and even the Bible differentiates between these two. I mean, in the Old Testament, specific cities were set up for individuals who committed manslaughter to flee to, so that they could get rid of, or that they could get away from the blood redeemer, from killing them until the time of the high priest died, and then they could go back to their home. This is biblically set up in the Old Testament. So, and the point of this is, and I know that was a tangent and aside, I apologize, but the point of this is that this is not like, we can make this about a war with the leftists all we want, and it is, to a certain extent, it really is. But this is just, if you look at it at any other period of time, even in the United States, say like 15 years ago, this was a law enforcement officer who someone was using deadly force against, intentionally or accidentally, who, from what I understand, was dragged by a car 6 months prior to this, got pretty banged up in the hospital. And so this was a lived reality for him, made a decision to utilize deadly force to preserve his life and the life of his fellow officers. That this is a controversial thing in any way whatever is beyond me.
Yeah, I mean, I can sign on to that, and I guess I'll keep my take on this current event that we're trying to get away from short. But I'm not going to shed any tears when somebody who represents the hosties, that is the existential enemy of me and my people, dies in the service of their own beliefs. Personally, while I think some of the memes are very funny, I won't be generating any myself or dancing on this woman's grave. But this is where we're at. We're in a war, and in the early stages, the first people who go are the people who are animated by a belief that they sincerely hold. And while this woman represents a whole class of our fellow Americans who have been completely mind raped by regime propaganda, and we should feel sorry for them, we still have to recognize that they elect to be enemy combatants. I don't think there's much more to be said about that.
And just to reiterate, that's what she was there to do. You know, she was consciously there to obstruct. She was part of an organized group who went there specifically to obstruct a legitimate law enforcement operation that is only necessary because people like her have facilitated the entry, directly or indirectly, of these illegal migrants for decades now. You know, so it's their fault this is necessary in the first place. She was there to obstruct the operation. She successfully obstructed it. The officers attempted to detain her. I mean, this happens all the time. Leftists do these sorts of obstructions and protests, and then they, you know, screw around, and then they'll be detained and whatever, and maybe get a light charge or just let out. It's not strange, right? So why didn't she just take the L and allow herself to be detained? I mean, surely she's trained for that as part of one of these organizations, right? Like, look, if you go there, you might get detained and arrested. Like, that's going to happen. Why did she try and flee? You know, you to put yourself in that sort of mind, it's like the officer, you know, clearly instructs you to get out of the vehicle. He attempts to open the door, and then you like speed away, you know, attempting to or threatening to run over another officer. I mean, this is just insanity, right? It's hard to comprehend that woman's state of mind, and I can't simply write it off as like a panicking woman or something like that. I think there was, you know, to me, there has to be a lot of malice there in order to do something like that.
Yeah, the left and and lol cows and people who just don't have the stomach for what needs to be done are trying to make this out like she was in traffic and no, and the police came up to her and she panicked. It's not what happened at all. This is what she does. This is why she moved to Minnesota. This is why she left. This is why she lost her first two kids. Because she was a maniac. She was a lunatic. She is not made for polite society. And she's not in polite society anymore.
Yeah, I think that's a very fair take, and this is something that needs to be emphasized more and more and more again. Is that, like, I saw some. For those of you who don't know, I'm back on Twitter now, under the old name and moniker. You can find me at my old @CavKingPaul, CavKingPaul. And when I came back, I made a couple of posts, and I saw one guy say, and I did a poll asking, whether people thought that a civil war really was approaching, or if it was just rhetoric, if it was just something that people say for clicks or something like that. Just a general. I wanted to see what the sentiment was. And a guy responded to it, by saying, "This is ridiculous. The left will be folded up in a week." And and I don't mean any hostility against the guy personally, but I quote tweeted him, and I said that this guy basically lives in fantasy land, because he does. Number one, no major military opponent of yours ever gets, quote, rolled up in a week, unquote, except in very, very specific circumstances that I think are very unlikely to happen here. Number two, this half of the country has an entire class of people whose whole job, and yes, the funding has been frozen, but whose whole job has just been, go instigate, go instigate. We have all of these networks of people who will bail you out. We have all these networks of people who will argue for you in court. We have all these networks of people who will make it so that you suffer no consequences. Go instigate and justify our seizing of power, or justify our pursuit of our political agenda. This is not a light thing. That this woman is just another example of a whole, like, subsection of American society whose numbers are likely in the millions, right? That's an army. And yes, they may be women, right? But women can be very dangerous, especially in modern society where you have technology that doesn't require physical strength to take lives. So I think this is something everyone needs to be conscious of.
I mean, you can quibble about the Spanish Civil War and the quote unquote Republicans sending their women to the front for a single month.
No, I'm not saying that wasn't what I was talking about. What I was talking about is, in this particular instance, right? What was the woman doing? She was operating a vehicle.
Yes.
A woman operating a vehicle can kill a man just the same as any man. A woman, I don't want to say operating a firearm necessarily, but a woman can carry a bomb like anyone else. A woman can do things like this anyone else. It doesn't need to be accurate. It just needs to be timed well. And honestly, that can happen, in many ways in spite of the incompetence of the wielder. So that's all I was trying to point out.
Yeah, I think
frankly,
I think you referenced the Spanish Civil War analogy there, which is used a lot, and I think it's a good analogy. But one thing that kind of comes along with it is this idea of like, this is how you get Franco. I think that's a little too specific in the sense that when we make analogies to the Spanish Civil War, we shouldn't do so with this sort of assumption that like Franco just like appears with it, right? Like they're actually like in the Spanish Civil War, there was a literal military coup from the very top that involved both right-wing political parties and generals, and Franco is the person that the coup plotters agreed should be the leader, but he didn't just come out of nowhere, right? So the trajectory we're on now, to me, looks a lot more like Russian Civil War, where the whites have many different factions, but there is no actual singular leader that is that is there to actually make them right adopt the power of friendship, as Carl Dahl spoke about at our conference, and we have that speech. I think a lot of people's favorite one. I think certainly the most important one. That's on our YouTube channel. And of course, people might say, "Oh, well, that's Trump." It's like Trump is not this sort of grand unifying figure, right? He's not. That's not like even a criticism of him, but he is not the Franco figure, right? If such a figure were to exist, that has yet to emerge, and that should concern us. And it's also, yeah.
Let me interject real quick. I know I don't want to interrupt you right mid rhetoric, but I want to emphasize Franco was a general with like years of military service, and he was third in command after Emilio Mola and Marshal San Giorgio. Then it was Franco, right? So like if you want to keep talking about Franco, they need to be a career military officer with these opinions who's willing to step forward and bring the weight of his command behind this movement. Continue. I apologize.
Yeah, I guess I just to wrap that all up, I don't want to just assume Franco, right? That he could emerge, because there is no Franco right now, and it's very much on us not to be the white army in the Russian Civil War. We want to act like the nationalists in the Spanish Civil War and form a friendly coalition of friends who do friendly stuff together, even in the absence of an actual leader to force us to do that. I mean, the whole idea of Reddit was like, okay, the phalangists can keep their colors and ideology, but you're going to be integrated into the military hierarchy. That's not happening on the American side right now, right? There is no military hierarchy where we're all suddenly going to be integrated in and agree to take orders from, which puts even more onus on the brotherhood we talked about earlier in the organization, but also the need to not needlessly make enemies of any other groups and individuals that exist. On our side of things, right? Obviously, there are left-wing enemies, but
no, and I mean, and Franco, all that Franco inherited. I mean, Franco inherited years of political cooperation between, frankly, in the Spanish context, between the conservatives, between the one type of monarchist, another type of monarchist, the Falange, and a variety of other groups. And the military hierarchy did not emerge until the military emerged. Now, in the years preceding it, there were the establishment of private armies of in some way, shape, or form, right? I know the Recates had their militia tradition, but you also had the assault guards, which were in many ways a private army created and founded by the Spanish Republic. So like there are all these things that can, in fact, be created that can be constituted, but the military hierarchy does not come about that like slots everyone into like the place under the command of actual military officers until the war starts. And I think Charlemagne is correct that that should not be the frame people are thinking in when we're still in peacetime. When we're still in peacetime, organizations like the Old Glory Club, like the John Birch Society, like other fraternal organizations or similar networks, that it specifically, as you further emphasized in some of your tweets previously, Charlie, they have to be incorporated entities. They have to be real. They can't be these kind of informal groups or, oh, we're an organization, but like, just because we say we are. It's like, no, it has to be incorporated. It has to have legal weight in some way, shape, or form. And that way, that's the only way you can actually gatekeep. That's the only way you can actually physically decide who is in this organization, who is not, who has been, who has never been. And that's what is necessary going forward, particularly if the temperature, as it were, of the society were to heat up.
All the more reason that what we're doing here with the Old Glory Club is so important. The worse things get, the more we're going to have a community that we can rely on, where we know that whoever shares our banner shares our values. I don't mean little political idiosyncrasies. I mean the values that Heritage America is worth preserving and that the American experiment was worth embarking on.
Absolutely. Couldn't be echoed more the importance of our fraternity and our brotherhood and our network, come what may. Even if we were to magically get based world tomorrow, an organization like the OGC would still be necessary to exist. So regardless of what happens this year in 2026 and beyond, the OGC will not be stopping anytime soon. And we want you guys in the audience to be there with us. So I think that's enough punditry for today, fellas. Why don't we tackle the rest of these super chats and we'll call it a night, eh? All right, let me scroll back to where we were. Let's see. Okay. Lord Fair, I like that. It's a fun. That's a cool name. For $10 says, "Happy New Year's, guys. We'll look into my local chapter. Yes, please do. And again, if there is not a local chapter, start one. Florida Man Adventures, another good super chatter name for $20. Salute. I met James Fishback tonight. Yeah, I met him recently too. He's a decent dude. He seems sincere about guarding his heritage as an American and Christian. The Florida primary is August 18th. Yes, indeed. Florida primary is coming up this year. I think Fishback is on Tucker Carlson's show tomorrow or Friday. Or Friday or Monday. So everyone can be on the lookout for that. Sir Blank for $5. We are to the point where ICE could hug 50 protesters and the right won't care. We passed the Rubicon a long time ago. Kent State to anyone? I mean, no. I think all of us have said our opinions on the matter throughout the stream tonight. Ski Bum 220 for $100 again. Thank you very much, sir. We appreciate it. He says, "For our future legal scholars, may their beers be cold and their enemies be jailed. Salute." Hey, you know what? That's something I can get behind. Hell yeah. Alrighty. Just checking to make sure we have no more. All right, that's it for the super chats. So we'll go around the horn here really quick and get any promotions out of the way, and then we will call it a night. So, Mr. Not Me, Not You, do you have anything to promote, sir?
Chapter House every Wednesday, 9 p.m. Eastern, and earlier times for the time zones that don't matter. This week is the St. Louis Voyageurs. Be sure to tune in this week and every week to know what your brothers are up to, because healthy competition between brothers is what makes us great.
Hell yeah. Mr. Pete, what do you have, sir?
Check out the episode I dropped today with Thomas, episode 5 on the 30 Years War. That's it.
Very cool. Your episodes with Thomas are always a must listen to. So everyone check out what Pete's got going on. He's got content coming out every single day. Everyone should be listening in. Mr. Fahrenheidt, anything from you, sir?
I am back on Twitter after a year of absence. You can find me at my old at CavKingPaul, CavKingPaul. That is all I have.
Alrighty. And Mr. Charlemagne, what do you have, sir?
Just the American Spirit stream at 6 Mountain Time, which I think is 8 Eastern, on Mondays. Next week, we'll be continuing our Garrett readings.
Alrighty, very good. Everyone should be indeed listening to American Spirits and Chapter House. For myself, I don't really have anything to promote outside of what we're doing here at the moment. I think I might make an appearance on Discord and Dragons with Yiz the Eunuch on Monday, but I am not 100% sure on that yet, so be on the lookout for that. And we got one more super chat that has come in under the last minute. We got Jeremy Kearns for $10. Happy New Year's. Hope y'all had a good holidays. I think all of us had a wonderful Christmas, indeed. Alrighty, so big news, big announcements, big changes coming to the OGC and Pony Express Radio in particular for the rest of the year. So everyone watch this space. We'll see you next week with a new topic, new show format. And in the meantime, everyone stick to your American Spirits, your Chapter House. Check out the Substack. Support all of our sponsors that you heard at the front of the show. And next week, we'll be having a charity stream for Mr. Bagby next Thursday. So everyone get ready for that. So next Thursday, we'll be having a fundraiser for our good friend, Mr. George Bagby. We'll see you guys next week.